Today, we're going to break down an absolutely fascinating business story. It's about how a homegrown Indian brand, one that started with a humble street food, has cooked up a strategy to go head-to-head with the biggest fast food giants on the entire planet. This is the incredible Jumbo King playbook.
I mean, it's the ultimate David versus Goliath question, right? You've got McDonald's, you've got Burger King. These guys have massive marketing budgets and global supply chains. So how on earth does a local player not just survive, but actually thrive and start to expand? Well, the answer isn't about outspending them. It's about outthinking them.
Okay, so let's get into this, because this is the secret sauce behind everything Jumbo King does. Instead of trying to be everywhere for everyone, they live by this mile-deep, inch-wide philosophy. In a world that's obsessed with scaling super fast, this is a totally focused approach. It's about complete domination of a very specific, very carefully chosen territory. And yeah, it's their secret weapon.
So, where did they decide to plant their flag first? Well, their opening move was all about winning over one very specific person, the daily commuter. They set out to master a space their competitors pretty much ignored, what we call transit retail. And they aren't just kind of dabbling in this. We're talking a staggering 80% of their stores are located exactly where their target audience is already a captive market. Metro stations, railway hubs, bus terminals. Think about how smart that is. They don't make you come to them. They literally set up shop right in the middle of their daily journey. And here's the genius part of how they make that 80% strategy work financially. They completely avoid those huge, expensive restaurants. Instead, their stores are tiny. We're talking just 100 to 250 square feet. This just skyrockets their return on investment and makes them a constant, unavoidable presence during those crazy morning and evening rush hours. You know the feeling, right? You're rushing to catch a train, you do not have time to wait. Jumbo King built their entire operation, their whole marketing promise, around one single number: 2 minutes. That's it. That's their commitment. Get your food and go. It's a promise that just perfectly fits that frantic commuter mindset. They even have a name for this whole idea, this value proposition. They call themselves the ATM of food. I mean, how brilliant is that? It says everything you need to know in just 4 words. It's fast, it's reliable, it's convenient, and it spits out exactly what you need right when you need it. But look, a great location is totally useless if you don't have the right product. And that brings us to the second pillar of their strategy. Instead of just copying the global giants, they leaned in hard and embraced a uniquely Indian identity, turning it into a powerful weapon. They didn't just sell burgers. They created the Burger of India. And you can just see the deliberate contrast in their approach right here. While the big global chains were trying to sell a very Western idea, Jumbo King did the exact opposite. By going 100% vegetarian, they immediately created a safe, trusted space for a huge part of the population. They packed their food with familiar Indian flavors and kept their menu incredibly focused, nothing like the sprawling, confusing menus of their competitors. And you might think that a tiny menu is a weakness, but it's actually their superpower. By only offering, say, 8 to 10 items, they make sure every single one is a bestseller. This cuts down on waste, it guarantees freshness, and it makes their kitchen operations incredibly fast and efficient, which of course ties right back into that 2-minute promise. Okay, so you have the perfect location. Check. The perfect product. Check. But in today's market, is that enough? Well, that brings us to their third strategic play: using technology to build a direct, really powerful relationship with their customers. Now, the engine for this whole strategy is their loyalty program, JK Rewards. And believe me, this is not some small-time operation. We are talking about 1.5 million members. That is a massive treasure trove of first-party customer data, giving them direct insight into who their customers are and exactly what they want. But here's where it gets really cool. They don't just collect this data for marketing. They've built a real-time feedback loop. So if a customer has a bad experience and leaves a review, the local franchise owner gets an instant notification on their phone. They can then contact that customer and resolve the issue, sometimes within just a few minutes. That is turning data into incredible, immediate customer service. And their outreach is just as modern. They use hyperlocal WhatsApp campaigns to target commuters on their specific travel routes. And while transit hubs are still their core, in their newer stores, they're working smartly with delivery apps, which now account for up to 40% of sales in those locations. It's a true multi-channel approach, and it's all powered by data. So, with this incredibly solid foundation of location, product, and data, where do they go from here?
Well, Jumbo King is now leveraging this whole successful model for some seriously aggressive growth. This is their next chapter, going from niche to nation.
And what's really smart is that they're sticking to their core philosophy even as they get bigger. Instead of trying to expand thinly across 200 different cities, they're targeting deep saturation in just 12 key markets. This creates massive supply chain efficiencies and lets them keep their prices competitive. It's that mile-deep, inch-wide strategy, but now it's on a national scale.
But maybe their most ambitious move of all is looking beyond India. By the end of 2025, Jumbo King plans to open its first international store in Dubai. And pay attention to the shift in how they talk about themselves. They're not just an Indian brand anymore, they're branding themselves as a global vegetarian burger chain, taking their unique idea onto the world stage. So let's bring it all together. What's the glue that holds this whole impressive strategy together and makes it so hard for competitors to just copy it? Well, it all comes down to their lean, profitable, and really attractive business model. Here's the financial engine that makes the whole thing work. It's an asset-light, 100% franchise model, so they don't have to carry the cost of owning all the stores. The entry cost for a franchisees is about half of what it is for a global competitor, which makes it incredibly attractive. And get this isn't some cash-burning startup. They are profitable and they're aiming to double their sales every couple of years. It's a disciplined, sustainable growth machine. And all of this brings us to the one big question for the future. Jumbo King has absolutely perfected a model for a very specific customer and a very specific environment. But as they step onto the global stage, you have to ask, can this hyper-specialized ATM of food concept, born in the busy transit hubs of India, actually conquer the world? Well, that remains to be seen.